Hi, my name is Lisa Ward, and I'm running for office in Alabama. Many times we fail to realize how critical exercising our vote rights are. We often see in our climate things that make us feel like our vote doesn't matter or count. And I am here to debunk that myth and tell you countless times that a race was too close to call, and it could have been your vote, actually, that made the difference. State laws change, and while we aren't paying attention often, they affect our voting rights. For example, there's a law in place that basically says if you don't use it, you lose it. But what does that mean? It means if you do not exercise your right to vote in 2 consecutive federal elections, the Secretary of State has the right to purge you from the eligible voter registration database. Now, for that reason alone, we don't want that to happen. Voting is a responsibility that we have to show interest in sustaining our freedoms for democracy in this country. And the moment that we stop caring about those fundamental rights, our authoritarian government slides in and our voice is gone. Each generation owes this pay it forward effort to protect what others before us have provided us. And it is our responsibility to do the same for those after us. So I want to spend a few minutes explaining to you something many might not have attempted to do before. I want you to understand how important all elections are, how critical knowing individual candidates are. Forgetting about a straight ticket vote and taking the time to hand select each candidate that has put themselves out there for public service. They deserve our effort to look at their name on that ballot and be counted. That happens when you color in their dot on election day. This is one way to prevent voter fraud and hindering anyone tempted to split your ticket by coloring in a circle that you might have overlooked. Let me give you an example of why all elections are vital, especially midterm elections. That is when people are not paying attention, but there are no electoral college votes interfering with our choices. It truly is one voice, one vote. And we need to take advantage of that. When you don't vote, you decrease the number of voters that are counted, and polling locations are reduced because of it. There is no need for them if no voters show up to vote at them. One more thing, and this is just an example of why your votes do count. In our climate today, for example, folks aren't happy with some of the police officers and the job that they do. I hope you realize the sheriff that you elect hires and determines the officers in your neighborhood so that can be prevented by making sure that you know the leader of that department is worthy of our votes. So let's get started. I want you to understand what elected officials are responsible for and how their role affects your life. Shall we? Let's talk about the Alabama governor. The governor of the state of Alabama is an elected constitutional officer. She is the head, or he, of the executive branch and the highest state office in Alabama. The governor is popularly elected every 4 years by a simple majority and is limited to 2 terms. He or she is responsible for upholding the Alabama Constitution and executing state law. The governor also is commander-in-chief of the state's military forces. That includes the Alabama Army National Guard and the Alabama Air National Guard, which is part of the National Guard of the United States, and the Alabama State Defense Force, which is the state defense forces. And as the commander-in-chief, the governor may call out the state's military forces to preserve the public peace when it is not in active service of the United States. And at least once every legislative session, the governor is required to deliver an address to the state legislature. It's referred to as the State of the State Address, and it's regarding the condition and the operation of the state government and to suggest new legislation. Other duties and privileges of the office include things like seeing that all laws of the state are faithfully executed, overseeing other state executive officers and agencies, convening extraordinary sessions of the legislature, presenting a budget for the state to the legislature, remitting fines and forfeitures, and granting reprieves, paroles, commutations of sentence, and pardons, exercising a veto over bills from state legislator. This is a very, very important role, and we need to pay attention to it.